Okay, everyone, welcome back here to Straight Buckets. My name's Todd. I'm back here with Brandon in Connecticut and Zach in Toronto, and we're ready to get things started today. And our first topic today is about our good friend, LaVar Ball. Alrighty, guys, he's said some pretty outlandish things, and I want to hear your opinion specifically on him calling out LeBron's sons perhaps not being able to live up to the name, LeBron James's legacy. So let's start with you, Brandon. What do you think?
Well, his premise I would agree with in the sense that it's kind of hard for anybody, when an NBA player has a son or has had children, it's very we haven't really seen the son be better than the player if they're a star. We've seen guys I'm trying to think right now off the top of my head. All right, I can't. But we have seen players where they've had their dads in the league and then they've come into the league and they've actually been better than them. But when it comes to
Dell and Steph Curry.
Yes, exactly.
Michael and Klay Thompson.
Yes, exactly. And we've seen that, but when it really comes to the stars, we haven't seen that. So I understand because LeBron is really one of a kind, and I know that is his kids, but to accomplish everything that LeBron's accomplished, to have to be held up to the same standards and try to match them or surpass them, it's kind of hard. But I felt like he could have gone about it a different way, or maybe not at all, because it's just when you start talking about somebody's kids, I think it's just a little much. Keep it to basketball. I know Lonzo's in the media a lot. He is LaVar's son, but Lonzo did declare last night for the draft, so he will be an NBA player. So that's relevant right now. But LeBron's son is, 12 years old? So I think it's just a little much right now to be, making those kind of comparisons. If you're going to make a comment, maybe say, oh, he's pretty good. We'll see what he does. But I guess knowing how LaVar is now, that we can't really expect those kind of comments.
What do you think, Zach?
All right, let me just start off by saying that LaVar Ball can say whatever he wants, and Lonzo, LiAngelo, and LaMelo won't and should not play any differently. These comments may challenge LeBron's kids to be better than LaVar's kids, but LeBron shouldn't even be thinking about this guy, and LeBron should not be getting offended. He's just at such a higher level than LaVar Ball. This shouldn't concern him in the slightest, in my opinion. I don't see this as such a strong shot at his kids. I just see this as LaVar being overconfident in his family. Honestly, everyone's buying into LaVar Ball's supposedly accurate answers as to who is better than who in one-on-one, and he's simply a marketing genius.
All right, but when you look at it from a marketing standpoint, I feel like LaVar has said some really outlandish things, like beating Michael Jordan one-on-one, like Lonzo being better than Steph. There's some things that, that have been said, but
I think the comment's begun because he actually mentioned that he feels like Lonzo could be better than LeBron or something like that. I don't remember.
Is there a line, though? Is there a line over which LaVar Ball can step to where it goes too far? Is him addressing LeBron's kids that him crossing the line?
Is there a line? Yeah, but should we expect LaVar Ball to abide by that line? Probably not at this point.
Okay. What do you think, Zach? Is there a line?
So many other people have probably said the same thing, but LaVar Ball has caught the public and is now making NBA superstars or former NBA superstars offended. Are you serious? You're just letting this guy get that much more famous and that much closer to his $1 billion deal, or however much money he's asking for.
I find it funny because Scott Van Pelt says, on ESPN, he said, I am no longer addressing LaVar Ball. This is my last time talking about him. You won't hear about him from me when I'm on SportsCenter. This is the last time I'm addressing him. Yet, the next day, he's on ESPN First Take with Stephen A. Smith and, oh, crap, I forget his name.
Max Kellerman.
Max Kellerman. So my only thought is LaVar a genius? Probably. But is what he says too much? For me, it's too much. I just can't handle it. Let Lonzo's play do the talking. And if you're trying to sell your big baller brand, whatever it is, that Triple B thing that he has going on. But then again, here we are talking about him on our podcast that doesn't get, we don't have a ton of viewership right now, but I'm sure we will someday. But like, he keeps on doing these things and people keep saying, oh, I don't want to talk about him. But then they do. So he's accomplishing what he wants, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure.
If anything, he's going to be making a ton of money through his company, or he's going to soon replace Stephen A. Smith getting paid to say absolute nonsense on television.
Oh, hey, Stephen A. does.
I don't know. I've heard
talking about a lot.
Yeah, and Stephen A. does kind of like back it up with facts. I think LaVar kind of backs it up with what he feels in his gut that day.
It is fair, but Stephen A. also may back up the most pointless stats and try to argue that minutes played could be more important than points per game, for example.
Well, you never know.
He gives facts that may make his side look stronger, but at the end of the day, it's usually the other players' stats or on-court presence that outweighs any of Stephen A.'s arguments.
That's true, but we're not here to criticize Stephen A. Smith. We're here to talk about LaVar Ball. But that being said, all I know is that whatever LaVar is doing, if there is a line and he crosses it, I honestly don't think that it'll be that big of a deal. There will be no repercussions, and honestly, he'll just accomplish whatever he's trying to do, which is just sell his brand and sell his sons, essentially, to the media and to everyone else.
And it's sure working.
It sure is. And that being said, let's move on to our next topic, which is pretty controversial in the league today, which is about resting players. Now, LeBron's been talking about it. He says that it's not a problem, honestly. Like, get over it. Guys need to rest. That's how it works. But when we ask our MVP candidates, Russell Westbrook and James Harden, their exact quotes. James Harden said, just 1 second, exactly, I just want to hoop. I'll rest when I'm done. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about resting in the NBA? Because Adam Silver has said that he sent out a memo to the league, and he said that it's something that he wants to address in the next CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, and things like that, in discussion with the Players Association. What do you guys feel in regards to rest?
All right, so what Adam Silver said in his last statement to the league was, resting players is an extremely significant issue for the league. And you know what? He's absolutely right. If you look at things, you see fans traveling from Detroit to go to a Cavaliers game, and then they'll see J.R. Smith playing and not LeBron. And I think that's what may make the NBA lose so much viewership and fans, if they see all of these rich NBA players that get paid to play night in and night out just sit on the bench for fun.
I would agree. It's tough. It is tough. I don't know if I agree or disagree with it. Because there's really no way to mandate, like, if they're resting, like, because some players will rest, and, like, in some of the cases recently, like LeBron, we could just say, oh, he's resting because it's just rest. It's not due to, like, he's nursing an injury and he needs time off with it. But, I mean, guys have come out and they've said it themselves. I mean, I don't know if you guys listened to Richard Jefferson's podcast, Road Tripping, but he mentioned it the other day. I mean, the players and teams will try to stretch the truth a little bit. They'll say, like, oh, maybe his hamstring's a little sore, or he might have turned an ankle or something like that. And you, as the league, you can't really, like, say whether that's true or not. If that guy really has that, he has that. But I think the big issue that the league is having, and why Adam Silver addressed it, is more so the big nationally televised games that have been happening, like the Clippers game with the Cavaliers this past weekend, or what was it, the weekend before with the Spurs and Warriors. I mean, this is a big television spot for the NBA, and they're paying a lot of money for it, and these guys aren't suiting up. And I think their real outroar with this past weekend was that LeBron can sit against the Clippers, but he'll play the next day against the Lakers. And, I mean, to say which team is better, which one's a more important game, I mean, like, one's getting nationally televised on ABC, the other one is not. So, I mean, if maybe there is a way to have it where they shouldn't sit out nationally televised games, but then again, I mean, you can't really control what if the player gets hurt the game before. Like, if that happens, that happens. You can't really control that. It's just kind of a dicey topic altogether.
I'd have to agree. I want to agree with you that resting is okay, but for me, if there's no visible or apparent reason for a player to rest, like being injured, nursing an injury, like when Greg Popovich listed Tim Duncan resting, the reason old. Like we get that they're old, we get that they need to have rest. LeBron's, he's what 30, 32.
32.
And I get that, but at the same time, he's getting paid record money to play a basketball game. I don't know. I can't say how I'd feel if I was in his situation because that will never happen. I will never be the best player in the NBA and never know what my body is able or not able to do. I understand that he's played more minutes than Michael Jordan has in his career already. But I feel like at a certain point, resting against the Clippers doesn't make sense to me. That's an important game. And then at a certain point, resting, if they rest their players for no reason during the regular season, for me, it depreciates the value of the regular season. It depreciates the whole idea of competition during the regular season to fight for position in the playoffs or whatever it might be. For me, it just takes it down a whole notch and makes me feel like what I'm getting as a fan or as a journalist or as a student of the game, it makes me feel like I'm getting less when really they could be, they're getting paid to give me more,
I think that one of the bigger problems is that, this is something like that's been going on for a while. Greg Popovich has been doing it for years. I think like more so to Zach's point earlier, I think one of the bigger problems is that people are paying to go to these games and they don't know until tip-off that player is not playing. And it's aggravating. You pay that kind of money that the league is charging now, you would expect the guy to be out there. I think I was reading an article the other day. I think it was David Aldridge. And I think he mentioned like one of the possible ways they can go about combating it. Like if a team is going to decide on resting a player for a certain game, there should be a 24-hour notice ahead of time before the game. So in case the family buys a tickets like a game before, a week before, the day of, or something like that, they'll know ahead of time if the player is going to be available or not. So they'll give them more time if they want to sell the ticket. Not I show up into the arena, oh, you heard LeBron's not playing tonight? Like, no, I thought he was playing. So that might be a bigger reason.
Here's what I think's the most impactful part of this. I think older NBA fans are losing interest. When they were our age or even my age, they were seeing guys like Jordan and Malone never take a break, even if there was a visible injury. In today's game, there might not be anything visible, and you see guys resting night in and night out. I think it's just now only the younger core of NBA fans that didn't have the pleasure of seeing these 90s and 80s players dominate, they just don't understand how much different the game is today.
I feel like there's a solution there, and if there was a solution, it could be shortening the season. The regular season, to me, honestly, the lockout season to me was much more exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
Of the less amount of games played, and the playoffs and everything was just as exciting, and the players were able to rest more. It wasn't nearly as tasking because they weren't playing as many games, they weren't traveling as much, and it was better. So I think that the league should look at shortening the season, or if they want to have the 82 games, maybe lengthening it out a little bit more so there's more rest available between no back-to-backs or whatever it might be.
The league has also mentioned that I think they're starting next year, they're going to be extending the season. Like they're going to add a week to the front of the season. And yeah, the NBA players are just really kind of angry. They're really kind of doing this like to resent because they're mad about the league having – when you have the schedule where it's 4 games, 5 nights, back-to-backs, and you're doing all this traveling, you might have a game in Portland and the next night in Miami. I know it's not common, but it happens.
Yeah.
So it's like that's an issue too.
All right. Well, that being said, I think we're in agreement that the league just needs to find a way to solve this, whether it be shortening the season or lengthening it, giving them more rest between the 82 games. We just know that it's a problem, that it's an issue, and that the players are unhappy and the league's unhappy, and that they need to find a happy medium,
Just before we switch the topics, I just wanted to mention that I didn't know if it was Todd or Steve Kerr talking a couple minutes ago.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I do admire Steve Kerr. He's a great coach, but sometimes I feel like he talks too much.
What can you do?
What can you do, right? All right, guys, it's time for our segment Splash or Brick. Last time we got cut short, but this time we're going to rapid fire these topics. We've got 3 topics for you. So let's start out. Give me just 1 second. We're going to start out with Brandon. Brandon, tell me, are the Washington Wizards legitimate contenders in the Eastern Conference? Splash or Brick?
I'm gonna go with Brick. I'm gonna say, are they contenders in the East, like against the other teams in the East? Of course. Are they contenders against Cleveland? Absolutely not. I mean, this is something that everybody talks about. I mean, it's kind of obvious. There's one team in the East that has LeBron. That's the Cleveland. There's one player that's probably going to his 7th straight finals. It's going to be LeBron. They're a great team. They added some depth to their bench in the what's called near the trade deadline. Yes, and I think they've improved. I mean, Boston's obviously shortened the gap with them in Cleveland, but I mean, Cleveland's just coasting at this point. When Cleveland has the ability to flip a switch that none of the other teams have that ability to, and you'll see that.
And that switch's name is LeBron James.
Very true.
All right. Next, Splash or Brick. Let's hear it, Zach. The Timberwolves youngsters, whether it be Andrew Wiggins, Karl Anthony Towns, Zach LaVine, they will click, or will they never click? They will never click despite tons of potential. What do you say, Zach? Splash or Brick?
All right, so I think this is pretty obvious. I think it's going to be a Brick. I don't see it being possible to expect a core of 2 players to just come into the league and make their mark right away and dominate, especially in today's game where you see teams just collecting superstars on the daily. Wiggins is averaging 23 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. And Anthony Towns is averaging an incredible 25 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 assists. Both are performing very well, but until you get that third piece, you're not going to win. But I do see them clicking very well. I just can't see it translating to the record that most would expect.
I'd have to agree, but they need that third piece. They need a point guard that's not named Ricky Rubio. Chris Dunn will not fill that spot, so they need to find a trade up in the draft, and get one of those great guards from Kentucky, whether it be a Malik Monk or De'Aaron Fox. That's my opinion. All right. Now, last topic. This is for you, Brandon. Splash or Brick. The Celtics will trade the Brooklyn draft pick in the offseason. What do you think?
That's tough. Let me think. I'm gonna go with let's see, they will trade it. I'm gonna go with Brick. I know Danny Ainge is on record saying that, well, I don't have it in front of me, the exact quote, but I know that he had trades available for guys like Butler, for Paul George. But I mean, if he would have done it, I felt like he would have pulled the trigger then. I just don't see the point of waiting until then. I mean, the reason why you would hold on to that pick is because you want the value for the players in the college to go up more. We saw from Lonzo last night, it's not going to get higher than what it was, other than maybe hype from it. But I mean, he didn't play that great of a game himself, and now they are out. But I don't think they'll trade it, because I think they're realizing that right now they should just hold on to it, and that and maybe they'll draft a young guy, because I feel like they're going to go the young route. I just don't feel like they believe that they can compete with Cleveland right now in their heart of hearts.
All right. I don't know if I agree. Personally, I just released an article on Real Sport about this very topic, and honestly, I think that the Celtics will indeed trade the number 1 pick to Chicago for Jimmy Butler in some sort of deal, some sort of package deal, but that's okay. We're all entitled to our opinions, but I just don't see Markelle Fultz fitting in a roster where it's super loaded at the guard position. With Terry Rozier, with Isaiah Thomas, Avery Bradley, Marcus Smart. I do understand that he's a great scorer. He's going to be one of the best, and he's going to be a good player in the league, that he wants to be the best player to ever play the game. But I just don't see Boston needing that much at guard, and if they do, it's going to be way too congested, and they'll need to do something to really, let that go, to let that figure it out. So I really think that they need the help at the wing and Butler, and who wouldn't want Jimmy Butler on their team? If you put Jimmy Butler on that team, I think that pushes them over the edge to beat Cleveland the next year. All right. So we'll just advance to our last topic, the fourth quarter here, and then we'll have a buzzer beater from Zach right after. But let's see. The last topic. Holy smokes. Devin Booker, 70 points. Let's just hear your guys' thoughts.
All right. You look at Phoenix. You look at how young these lineups they've been playing are. It's kind of getting ridiculous, but what do they have to lose at this point? Last night, I saw Devin Booker score 70 points on over 50% shooting. That is absurd. Efficiency, he made over 20 free throws from the line. And he has every reason to be as confident as anyone right now.
All right, what do you think, Brandon? What do you take from his 70-point performance?
I think it's pretty crazy because, how often do we make reference to, Wilt's 100-point game, Kobe's 81-point game? And, we think, can anybody really ever come close in the league that we play in now? It feels like there's less possessions. What's it called? It seems like it's more of a team game now. It seems like we moved away from the ISO ball, more so like moving the ball around like a team like Golden State does. And just seems like a guy really couldn't get up that many shots. Kobe got up enough shots for it last year, and he got to 60, but in his last game. But to Zach's point, inefficiency. But my God, to be able to be over 50% shooting and to put up 70 points in an NBA game, it's just, are you going to try to defend him, or are you going to throw more people at him? Are you not throwing double and triple teams to try to get the ball out of his hand and make one of those other young guys try to beat you? At that point, you're ahead, but why would you let a guy break the record of most points from an opponent by a single player on your own home floor? That doesn't seem like Boston to me.
A couple points is back to when you were talking about De'Aaron Fox or Malik Monk and just how dominant Kentucky point guards are. I really think Tyler Ulis, who many say are undersized, will perform well in the NBA. I think it's also back on the point of Devin Booker. He's a sophomore. And he just did what you haven't seen LeBron do, you haven't seen Curry do over the past 2 years. He just scored 70 points. It's almost incomprehensible.
Okay, he scored 70 points, but how much credibility does Isaiah Thomas have when saying, we're worried about the playoffs, they're worried about the lottery? They lost the game. He scored 70 points, and they lost the game. Reminds me of when Steph, he scored 54 in Madison Square Garden. They still lost. I don't understand how this happens. But first of all, do you agree or disagree with Isaiah Thomas in saying, why are they celebrating? They lost.
I'll tell you why they're celebrating. They're celebrating because they know they're out of it. But it's kind of a reassurance that they have the future of the NBA on their team right now and that they're about to get a young, dominant player to join them.
Why not get excited about it? It's a regular season game. To Zach's point, they know they're out of it at this point. This is their glimmer of hope. It's a 20-year-old. He's my age, and he put up 70 in a game. That's insane. But it's just, I don't understand why it's an issue for them to celebrate. Think about some of the players on the team. I think Tyson Chandler's on that team, isn't he?
Yeah.
And, how long has he been playing for? And I don't think he's – yeah, those guys have been playing for years, and they get to sit at the end of their careers, and a lot of the other young guys, I bet you none of them will have the ability to say, yeah, I played with someone who put up 70. Yeah. And it's just that's a legendary moment. Even after the game, I think everybody saw that picture when they tried to recreate the Wilt famous picture when he was holding up the piece of paper with the 70 points on it. That's pretty incredible. Let a guy celebrate himself just one night. We hear, I know they're on more winning teams, but we hear every night about how Westbrook's putting up a triple-double, or, how many points Harden's putting up, or how Kawhi's gotten to the running, or how LeBron has been so consistent. Give somebody else a little chance, I think it was good for the NBA.
ever since Embiid went down with that injury, back to Brandon's point, when Embiid was healthy, he was putting up ridiculous stat lines. And some of these bottom-tier teams were getting credibility and getting on Facebook, on Twitter, on whatever. And Devin Booker's kind of reinventing the NBA on social media, spreading the wealth, honestly.
It just helps you remember that, like, there are other teams other than the top contending teams or the top players running for MVP, that it just kind of puts in perspective a little bit. Like, yeah, we're out here too, and every once in a while we'll give you a show to see, So
Exactly. I think honestly, Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder, I think they were being a little petty afterwards. Like, why can't you? We understand that you're in the playoff race, and we understand that the Suns are definitely not. But at the same time, give credit where it's due and appreciate greatness. That was an amazing individual performance by Devin Booker. And honestly, I think he's going to be a top guard. He's going to be an all-NBA guard in the prime of his career. At least that's what I see and what I think of him. And he will make the Suns great again. Since I think he'll be the best guard. He'll be the best thing to happen to the Suns since Steve Nash.
Okay. The Suns, back to who's on them? Jared Dudley.
Tyson Chandler.
The great part about that is you have guys at the tail end of their careers just looking to make the veteran minimum or even a little more if you signed a nice contract. You just love the game so much that you want to stay. You're not in the best physical shape anymore. They have a chance to mentor such young players. They have a chance to kind of perhaps go from sitting on the bench to coaching, honestly.
It's true. I do find it – I think it's a great opportunity there in Phoenix. I think they are on the cusp of turning – just like the Timberwolves, in my opinion, they're on the cusp of raising their competitiveness and their ability to become a contending team in the West and in the NBA. I'd give them 3 to 5 years, and they're there in the mix, in my opinion. Alrighty, guys. Looks like we're about to sum up and finish up. Today we'll finish with Zach's buzzer beater, and then we'll see you next week.
All right. I don't want any of you guys to take this the wrong way. This may be a Toronto bias right here. I just don't understand why Vince Carter is wasting away not even his last years. He is, in my opinion, one of the better bench players in the league. And I just don't think that Memphis team has enough to even come close to coming out of the West. I think he's a top bench presence. I honestly think this might be a stretch. Why not come back to Toronto? Why not finish what you started? Why not help the team possibly challenge LeBron even more in a playoff series and get the fans to forgive you before you retire?
All right. Well, that's our last word from Zach. We'll be finding out if Vince decides to take his talents to the north.
Back to the north.
Back to the north, exactly. All right, guys, it's been a good show. I've actually really enjoyed today's discussion, and see you next week. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Take care, people.
See you guys.